Disappointed but not surprised is how scientists have described a lack of new funding for scientific research in Budget 2024.
Leaders in the scientific community say it will lead to expertise going overseas, and important research into how New Zealand adapts to a changing planet simply will not get done. Isabel Ewing reports.
The government very clear on what it prioritises.
Hard-working New Zealanders will get to keep more of their own money.
And what it doesn't. The word science mentioned not once in Nicola Willis's budget speech.
The signals had been there since we had our change of government that this was going to be a very difficult period for science. Disappointed, certainly. Surprised, unfortunately not.
Scientists say contestable funding for science has seen a net decrease, and areas of scientific funding that have increased are not in line with inflation.
No new money for any new initiatives. There was some new money for GeoNet, but that's not really new, it's just stopping GeoNet essentially having to shut down. Everything else was flat or it was cuts.
Stewart says the result will be New Zealand falling behind and losing talent.
They will take the expertise overseas. We will see the end of relationships and kind of communities that have been built by science funding over the past 10 or 20 or 30 years.
It was National that introduced the National Science Challenges a decade ago, bringing together researchers from different organisations to tackle some of the major problems New Zealand faces, funded to the tune of about $70 million a year. That funding ends this year and there is no sign of anything replacing it.
That disappears, and we see a lot of researchers in New Zealand that will now not have funding.
Jenny Webster-Brown says that research is critical to help us adapt to a quickly changing world.
Our food system, for a start, our health system, all of those, and environmental systems are starting to show massive impacts of degradation. All of those issues need science to inform their solutions.
When it comes to climate funding, the government is injecting $200 million into rail and investing in resilience.
Flood protection and resilience projects across the country. This will include upgrades to stop banks and flood walls, the kind of infrastructure that will help build resilience to our changing climate.
But climate advocates say that's spending for the disasters we've had, not those that are still to come.
What we really need to see now is forward planning for how we're going to cope, not just with flooding, but with the big risks we can see coming, which are fires and drought in particular.
Hayward says National is in a difficult position on climate.
They're working with two small parties who have got quite extreme views, and at the same time they risk losing their conservative, particularly female vote, who are concerned about climate.
And those concerned about whether 2024 will be remembered as the year science wasn't even a footnote. Isabel Ewing, Newshub.